You're all that's left of us. Good luck, God bless, and Godspeed. I'm John Renton with the retro review of Pandorum that came out all the way back in 2009. That was 15 years ago. I wasn't even 30 in 2009. My God, time is absolutely a flat circle. And speaking of time, a lot of time has passed in this particular movie that was written and directed by Christian Albert, who did Case 39 and other projects. Sadly, Case 39 is probably the most widely known movie that he did besides this. He's done other stuff, and I gotta be honest, a lot of it had me scratching my head like, I don't remember those movies at all. Nevertheless, he stayed busy, and this was also written by Travis Malloy, who did Infinity Chamber and some other projects. Dennis Quaid, Ben Foster, Cam Gigadet, and some other people, including Norman Reedus. Yes, Norman Reedus was in this. Not in a big role, but he was in it. And also, I do have to say that the character of Nadia, whose name I cannot pronounce, is absolutely goddamn gorgeous. Jesus fucking Christ, she's incredibly gorgeous. Still gorgeous now. Absolutely ageless. I need to see more stuff that she was in. I hope it was something a little bit better than this. Pandorum actually was a movie that I watched a number of years ago and ended up kind of liking. It wasn't necessarily great. It wasn't perfect. I don't even know if it was necessarily good, but I remember it being pretty atmospheric with some good action, and maybe not the best dialogue, but at least was halfway decent, even though the twist was pretty obvious. So, in the not-too-distant future, not even next Sunday AD, we are in the year 2153. Let's just say that after launching a probe way into space, just to go do something, go figure out if we can solve this mystery of the Earth before its history and find a new planet, Planet Tanis, woohoo! So yeah, in 2153, basically the population is 24 billion. Fortunately, I won't be around in that year. God forbid if I am. That's going to mean I'm nearly 200 years old. And there is a ship named Elysium. No, not to be confused with, the guy that directed District 9, that movie, Neil Blomkamp. I try to put that name out of my head because I pretty much consider him my arch nemesis. He had nothing to do with this, but in 2174, the Elysium is launched, and everybody is bound determined to find this new planet. Planet Tanis. Tanase. Can't really even try to make jokes about this because that didn't work at all. And the ship ends up basically crashing. Some sabotage. Listen all y'all, it's a space sabotage. Can't stand it. We're on a planet, and we're going to set us straight this water gate. Aha! See, if you've seen Pandorum, you'll get it. And it is a retro review, so there's going to be a mild bit of the story before I really dive into spoilers. I mean, I'm sorry, the movie's 15 years old. If you have seen Pandorum, let me know what you thought of it, because, yeah, I gotta admit, this movie's kind of bad. There are a few decent moments, but the twist is so goddamn obvious. I mean, it's very clear from the beginning what the hell's going on. And it doesn't really do anything to deviate from that. And Cam basically playing another evil guy like he is known to do. Dennis Quaid continuing his descent into just what the fuck is he doing. Ben Foster I totally forgot about. And it was also produced by Paul W.S. Anderson. That explains a lot, actually, as to why I probably didn't reflect well upon this movie after seeing it a number of years later. But yeah, there's basically people wake up out of cryosleep and they have amnesia. Some may be showing the effects of Pandorum, just shaking, dealing with the psychosis of being in space and everything. And also they find out that they are not better off alone, as Alice DJ once said, who still looks great, by the way. Look up Alice DJ. You might be surprised that she basically has not aged a bit since about 2000. Nevertheless, the crew is missing. Except they're not. It turns out that they've actually been in this ship and been in cryosleep for quite a while, except not all of them have. And some of the crew is also mutated and attacking people. We have never really come up with an explanation as to why this happened beyond, it turns out that the person that was most obviously behind this was obviously behind this. Clearly, otherwise they wouldn't have obviously been behind the whole thing. It was Dennis Quaid. It was Dennis Quaid that was causing this whole thing. But Dennis Quaid was also hallucinating Cam Gigadet. I've done that before. I think we all have at some point. I don't know why he would have chosen that form, but nevertheless, maybe Dennis Quaid has a type. If you have a type, go for it, as long as they're a consenting adult. Let's get back to the actual review instead of this weird path that I've decided to take. Yeah, Ben Foster's Bauer ends up trying to figure out what's going on. It turns out there's these power surges. The reactor for this particular giant ship is malfunctioning. It needs to be reset. Like, thank you for calling IT if you try turning it off and on again. And if he doesn't do that, the ship be fucked and everything's just going to blow up. Or they're going to succumb to the elements. Or they're going to succumb to psychosis or whatever. Or spoopy sci-fi shit. I will say, fucking hell, Nadia is just beautiful. It's like at first point, the first point she pins him down, like, could she pin me down like that? But nevertheless, she's a beautiful woman. And she eventually starts talking. She's a German actress, apparently, and English is her second language. She does fine. The dialogue kind of takes a backseat to the fact that we're just going to go along with the story. And there's some neat little body horror elements. There's like this leader of these mutants and all this weird shit's going on. And there are decent enough makeup and body horror effects. The movie clearly has some money behind it. Not a ton, but enough money. And then we see a flashback of the planet Tanis. Damn it, Tanis. And then there's something called the Eden Mission, where somebody left, somebody absolutely snapped and everything, and we don't quite see who it is. Except for one little flash. It's Cam. And then Cam suddenly shows up where, oh my god, Cam caused this. And Dennis Quaid is sending somebody out, a.k.a. Bauer, to try and figure out all this stuff. And, jeez, it's almost like maybe Dennis Quaid is actually the person behind this. And he is. He is. Dennis Quaid playing a villain, which kind of makes sense, given... poor Dennis Quaid, by the way. He never really got a chance to... continue his ascent as a great actor because, for whatever reason, even though he had some good movies in the 2000s, I can't name too many in the 2010s. And remember Cold Creek Manor? I try not to remember that movie. I really try not to, but that was pretty abysmal. He was really not great in that. It's like if you took a haunted house element and tried to put Cape Fear in it, except you didn't know what the fuck you were doing. You want me to retro review Cold Creek Manor? Answers in the comments, please. So, it turns out that basically this guy, Gallo, just totally lost it. He launched 5,000 people into space where they were all dead. Everybody was just dead, and then the ship just seemingly vanished. Or they're just floating out in space and they're all confused, except they can't get a hatch open. They can't get to an escape portion, almost like it's blocked off for a reason. So this guy Shepard shows up. He doesn't last very long. There's a Vietnamese guy named Mang, or Man. It's M-A-N-H. Kong Lee, not Chong Li, not the Street Fighter character. And there's a lot of shipping containers stuck in this giant, hull of a ship. And there was a giant collection of specimens. The best specimen was Nadia, by the way. Yes, maybe I will profess my love for this woman. Shut up. They're Noah's Ark. There's the reactors keeping a lot of this alive. They've lost 30% of the specimens, but apparently not enough to where, this stuff isn't worth protecting. Then there's this guy Leland. Not Leeloo Dallas Multipass. This guy Leland, played by Eddie Rouse, who is kind of going insane, basically. He has his own lair. Despite the fact that this is seemingly a small area, there's quite a few expansive parts of this ship. Quite a few. And then we see actually that the ship is pretty goddamn massive. But you're thinking, now how the hell were some of these people awake for all this time and they never interacted with anybody else, and then all these mutants are around? All this weird stuff's going on that we never really get much of an explanation. It could just be psychosis. These mutants might not actually be existing. People might have just ended their lives because they couldn't take it anymore. And yeah, the action scenes are kind of shit. How many idiots does it take to kill a killer mutant? Apparently 3. And yeah, Gallo basically is found in these pipes, in this craziness. It's almost kind of like a birthing canal. I don't know why I thought of it that way. And it turns out that Gallo is Peyton, Peyton is Gallo, and that he's aged quite a bit, and he just has his own psychosis. He's predicting all this, or he's just projecting all this stuff, and he knew that the only way to stop this crazy thing from going on Planet Tanis was to crash the ship, because he had a psychotic episode. The movie doesn't make a whole lot of sense, despite being really simplistic. And And then from there, they have to get to the reactor. The Vietnamese guy ends up getting killed. Gallo gets put in his cryo chamber, or Peyton's cryo chamber. Gee, a little symbolic there. Peyton proves that he absolutely is goddamn nuts. The reactor gets restarted. The mutants get vaporized. The Vietnamese guy gets killed, I think. Yeah, he gets killed because there's a space child, or mutant child. That's why you don't trust children and you always just automatically go and destroy them. In sci-fi movies, not in real life, let the children be our future, but if you see them in a horror movie, eradicate them. There's a reason for that. There's a reason why children never are really the best characters in horror movies. Like that little shit in The Mist. You deserved it, you little shit. Moving on from that. That was a great ending. That was a hilarious ending. At least I found it funny, because nobody had any redeeming qualities in that movie. So, Dennis Quaid basically confesses he did all this because sci-fi villain origin story. And they've been underwater this whole time. There's these sea, like, creature type things that are going around. And then basically he fires at some of these mutants that aren't actually there anymore. Maybe the mutants weren't there. Maybe the real mutants were the ones we made along the way. And then some glass gets broken, and Nadia and Bauer escape. Dennis Quaid gets killed. They get in their escape pod and launch up, and a bunch of other escape pods launch. Evidently. The remaining ones, I guess. And now they have a whole new world of waterfalls, and kind of looking like New Zealand, actually, in all honesty, is what it kind of looked like. I say as somebody that has never actually been to New Zealand, but that's what I thought. So yeah, that's it, and then we just go for... This kind of actually reminded me if they made Doom a little bit darker, a little less comedic, and also not nearly as good, because Doom you could at least get some entertainment out of. Pandorum wasn't awful, it just wasn't great in retrospect. Decent idea, decent atmosphere, and the character of Nadia just goddamn gorgeous, but yeah, that's about it right there. So, yeah, it was what it was. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Retlin. I'll see you soon.